Hello everyone! Last time we talked about the story of Ferellis, a zone that I apparently butchered my pronunciation, but all the same, you wanted our exploration to continue into Thousand Needles. The cataclysm rocked the world hard and changed many locations. It would be hard to find a better example than right here within the Thousand Needles. The way that it looked before the Sundering is very hard to say, since they don't really give a description of it within the Chronicles, and all really have to go on is a description from the Warcraft RPG. These are in general not considered to be canon, not part of the official lore, but still, just for the sake of it, this is what it says. Before the Great Sundering, the region of Thousand Needles was a river canyon. The spires of sandstone shaped from years of rushing water. Water flowed to the sea from a large lake to the east, fed by an underground tributary. Then came the demons and the destruction that threw the entire world into upheaval. The canyon was thrust above the water table. The eastern lake dried into a vast salt flat, and Thousand Needles became a sandy gorge. The long canyon stands as a natural divide between central and southern Kalimdor. The realm gets its name from the dozens of giant cylindrical columns of sandstone that rise from the bottom of the canyon like a forest. Bridges have been constructed atop many of the spires, connecting pathways across the canyon from one side of the surrounding mountains to the other. To the east of Thousand Needles, the canyon opens into a large dry lake bed. This dried out salt flat is actually below sea level. At its center stands an alkaline lake with 10 times the salt of any ocean. This sear region is so hot, dry and salty that few creatures venture here. Lizards, scorpions, vultures and birds of prey are not uncommon, and neither are centaur warbands. The spire bridges allow travelers to traverse the canyon without running into the barbaric centaur who patrol the canyon floor. The bridges are not entirely safe, however, as birds of prey will attack the unwary. Larger birds have even sabotaged the bridges from time to time. There is very little of interest in this land, unless someone has a passion for salt, or sandstone, or oil. Or one of the greatest trinkets the classic World of Warcraft had to offer. When I think back to Thousand Needles during the time periods, not a lot of the story that stands out. There was, however, a carrot on a stick trinket that would always make me visit the area. I mean, come on now, who can resist like a 3% mount increase? At the Mirage Raceway, we found Posik, a goblin affiliated with the Bilgewater cartel and a rocket car enthusiast. He has a long-standing rivalry with gnome engineer Fizzle Brassbolts over which is superior, goblin or gnomish engineering. In an attempt to prove the superiority of their respective race, Posik and Fizzle built the Mirage Raceway on the shimmering flats within Thousand Needles, and both built rocket carts and enlisted teams to drive them. A competition between goblins and gnomes, while the carrot on a stick that was rewarded to adventurers who were brave enough to confront Kazrilla. It wasn't as easy as it is today though. You couldn't just click on the gong to make the beastie spawn. You needed the mallet of Zul'Farrak. Obtaining it took you all the way to the hinterlands. Not to mention that you were going to need a group to get the quest done. But that trinket, it was more than worth it. Alternatively, you could also go for the speedy racer goggles as your reward, but I don't recall anyone actually picking it. So with the waters rushing into the Thousand Needles, they not only lost their racetrack, but also some of their loved ones. Now they've taken to life on top of the water, with their beautiful Fizzle and Posik speed barge, a culmination of goblin and gnomish ingenuity. Having these opposite races spend so much time together on a somewhat small living space, it sometimes causes a bit of trouble, but nothing that the Brute Squad can't handle. Even our traveler from the book, en route to Getchestan, they made a stop here. He describes it as a cross between a city-sized ship and an artificial island, with its own set of docks on either side and no worn-up buildings, or perhaps machines, built atop it. Aram, the name of the traveler, he thought that the speed barge was surrounded by more boats than he'd ever seen in any one place, including Stormwind Harbor. That was not by accident, as they arrived in the middle of the annual Fizzle and Posik speed barge boat race, sponsored by Mega. The Mechanical Engineers Guild of Azeroth, they sponsored this race. The time for engineers to shine and show off their incredible speedboats. Also grabbing a drink at a bar and listen to the soothing tones of the ever-smiling Daisy. Now with the water connecting Thousand Needles to the high seas, it opened the way for the South Sea pirates led by Tony Two Tusk to come in and cause a bit of trouble. He has built a pirate empire out of nothing, and the treasures lost to the bottom of the sea, they're theirs to be claimed. Or at least that's what the troll pirate thinks. We definitely have something to say about that, as we gather the material to make our very own boat. We repel the attacking pirates, and we make the way to their headquarters. Getting to Tony isn't going to be easy though, as he has a whole lot of ogre guards. Perhaps by recovering their sunken treasure and bribing the ogres with it, our trip into the Admiral's Den might be a little bit less lethal. Who cares if their treasure is actually a fake? The ogres will never be able to tell the difference. Treasure is a pirate's best friend, but it isn't enough to save Tony's life. The troll is very tricky though, as his spirit is now haunting us forever, and will do so till the end of our days, annoying us every step that we take. We have no other choice but to bring him back to life. His girl, Asha'man Ghostcaller. She might be able to help us with that. Not because she particularly likes him or anything. She has plenty of spirits to keep her company after all. She just doesn't want him to get out of paying his alimony. Besides, there's also the baby that he had with her sister that definitely needs taken care of. Tony the sly dog has some unfinished business in the world of the living, and we gather the stuff that she needs to bring him back. The heart of Evil Dolly, Sea Dog Fajardo's lungs, and Lily Landlubber's liver. Normally, we would need lots of other things, stuff from his family for example, but that family is only herself and her sister's boy. Tony ain't worth that, so instead, we gathered a whole bunch of carcasses from the animals that drowned with the flooding. A bit of nostalgia for the many creatures that we used to kill while questing in Thousand Needles. The last step is to slay someone with the big mojo in Tony's presence. No, of course it's not going to be her. We set our eyes on Mad Mage's turf. A name that might sound familiar to those of you who watched my masterpiece of a movie on the story of the Angry Chicken. He used to hang around at the racetrack, enjoyed the booze a little bit too much. Foolishly, he believed that he was powerful enough to stop the waters. They were rushing in with the cataclysm. He still does, actually. He blames his apprentice Plucky Johnson for his incessant clucking, constantly cursing him into a chicken. Finally, his mighty mojo will be put to good use as we bring Tony Two Tusk back to life. No longer does his spirit haunt us. He jumps right back into the world of the living, expecting to have a date with Asha'man, but she's already sorted. She's already hard at work at summoning up a date for later. Now Tony Two Tusk would later on join the race that our traveler was observing, and remember that the traveler book, it actually takes place after the cataclysm. So Tony Two Tusk, not a bad guy at all, just a lovely little boat racer. Now the Horde and the Alliance, Goblins and Gnomes, they might be able to get along with each other somewhat on the boat, but that's not to say that they don't have their conflicts. Where these days we're fighting over a resource known as Azerite. Right here in the Thousand Needles, it's oil that's the real power source that they desire. Just one little problem. With all the water, the major sources of oil are now in the hands of the Centaur. Negotiations are taking place to see who's going to get the right from Blitz to pump out that liquid gold. Both sides offer way more gold than the other could ever muster. Both sides are probably lying, and both sides decide to just take it further and offer fake gold in the form of pyrite ore chunks. A move that the Centaur can't really appreciate. They might be savage, but they're not stupid, and we're no longer welcome. No problem at all. We'll just set up our little pumping operations anyways. Just try to stop us, Centaur. Try to stop us from destroying the land and stealing what we need. Silly Centaur, how dare you say no to the heroes of the Alliance and the Hordes. Now one of the final stories that I want to cover for the zone, that's all about Magatha Grimtotem and her Grimtotem tribe. The Grimtotems have always been more on the hostile side amongst the Taurens, with the leader Magatha disagreeing with Cairn and the direction that he was taking the Tauren. When I mentioned Cairn's fate in the story of Forellis, some of you wondered why he didn't just kick out Magatha before it was too late. But Cairn always believed in the idea of keeping your friends close, but your enemies closer. Unfortunately, he did not see the real threat Magatha posed, the lengths that she would go to wrestle control from the Tauren. It was around the time, just before the cataclysm hit, where Chief Thrall handed over leadership of the Horde to Garrosh Hellscream. Many disagree with this decision, including Cairn and Garrosh himself, but Thrall, he'd made up his mind, and he saw something in the son of Gromash. As he went on his journey to Outland to learn more about what was happening to the world, discover more about the coming of the cataclysm, and become a better shaman, Garrosh took charge. New incursions took place into Ashenvale, which of course enraged the Alliance. Tensions between the factions flared up and open war seemed inevitable. Some of the Horde members actually welcomed these bold and aggressive maneuvers, but Cairn did not. The Elder Tauren did everything he could to reason with the acting war chief and prevent the bloodshed. In Cairn's eyes, Garrosh was leading the Horde down a dangerous path, one that would inevitably destroy it. Garrosh did not listen to his wisdom, and so Cairn spoke the only language that the orc would understand. He challenged Garrosh to a Makora, a ritualistic duel. Before a crowd of onlookers, the Tarn and the orc fought for the future of the horde itself. As was custom, a shaman was allowed to bless their weapons. This was the opportunity that Magatha had been looking for, as she offered to aid Garrosh, secretly coated his legendary Ex-Gorhal with poison. On that day, on one side stood the promise of a peaceful future. On the other, there was the promise of blood and conquest.
Garrosh, you are not fit to rule the horde.
It was blood and conquest that won that day. Cairn fought bravely, even had the advantage, until one single hit, and the poison did the rest. The Tauren, who had lived his life with honor, died betrayed. After the duel, Magatha led a coup into Thunderbluff, and she seized the city. Yet her victory was short-lived. Cairn's son Bane was warned, and he survived the surprise attack. No aid from Magatha would come from the war chief, as Garrosh was actually pissed. He was furious that she had poisoned his blade. It had tarnished his victory in the Makora, and it called into question whether or not he was truly a better fighter than Cairn. So it was that he left it to her fate, and with the aid of Fedamore, Bane then launched a counterattack to the post of Magatha. He had every right to execute his foe, but he decided to stay his hand. He looked to his father's teachings for guidance, and he decided that walking the path of honor and compassion was the mark of a true leader. In the end, he decided to exile Magatha and those that remained at her side, far away from Thunderbluff. In the case of Magatha, it appears that she made her way to the Dark Cloud Pinnacle, a Grimtotem stronghold within the Thousand Needles. The Grimtotems had been fighting with the forces at Freewind Post for quite a while now, and moved in with their attack when the waters rushed in. It's almost as if they knew what was going to happen, attacking them at their weakest moments. No more. The Grimtotem have struck them for the last time. Since they cannot be taught the error of their ways, we will destroy them like beasts. May the Earth Mother forgive us. With each step taken, a Grimtotem brave shows up to fight us, but step by step we retake the area with on-the-ground bodies linked to quests in the past. For example, Magistrix Olosai was a Blood Elf exiled for her studies to find a cure for the Blood Elf's magical addiction. Back then, she believed that with our aid, she might actually succeed. She tried different methods to halt her addiction, but instead she ended up not curing it, but actually accelerating the process. She became a wretched. All those years of research, all for nothing. Perhaps her people were right. Perhaps this is something that they must learn to live with. If only she knew that the Blood Elves would regain access to the Sunwell. Not that it matters so much now, as her corpse is on the ground, still holding on to the vial that she drank from. Further on, the broken body of Lorekeeper Montar, a reagent vendor in Classic. He now lies in a pool of his own blood. A trail of droplets leads back to the inn, where Cliffwatcher Longhorn reveals that he has been with the Grimtotem Torrents since the beginning. This, despite offering quests for classic heroes that did seem to help out Freewind Post. The horn of the traitor is taken from his dead body, which in turn allows us to command the spirit of the Cliffwalker to fight for us. A small bit of vengeance for Montar. Right now, we deal with the Grimtotem by burning their weapons and taking on the most formidable leaders, while also coming across something rather interesting, a rattle of bones. This is part of Shuhalo ancient myth. It's always connected with the writ of history and the drums of war. These are supposed to be powerful Tarn artifacts, gifts from the Earth Mother herself, if the tales are to be believed. As we pick it up, the wind serpent Arikara shows up, urging us to follow. Believed to be a creature of vengeance. We've dealt with Arikara before during Classic. With the aid of Magatha, actually, we made sure that it posed no threat to Cairn. But now it seems like these two have a much closer connection. She now used the beast to communicate with us. With the writ of history and the drum of war in our possession, we're complimented on being able to follow simple clues. The old crone has one more challenge to see if we're worthy, and also has a small request of killing her nephew Arnok along the way, since he's become something of embarrassment to the family. The Chief of Chiefs has many Grimtotems to fight at his side, but he goes down all the same. In the cave, we rescue the captive bride, Lakota Winsong, who's been captured by Arnok twice now. She asked us if we actually killed him, to which the shaman looks sad for just a moment, but is still very happy to be free once more. Now for the challenge for Magatha, a fight with Arikara and the spirits of some elders. Upon his defeat, she gives us our next clue on where to track her down. She's apparently been taken prisoner by the Twilight's hammer. These are the people all about bringing the end of the world. They saw the coming of Deathwing as actually a great thing. They teamed up with his forces, and while Magatha is not exactly sure where they've taken her, we can be certain that a mighty shaman like herself in the hands of the Twilight Hammer, that's not good for anyone. Our search begins at High Perch, where we run into Swift Mountain. This guy used to be an escort quest as he tried to study the Wyvern, got a little bit too close to them, and got lost after being chased away from the nest. But these days, he's a lot more in charge, trying to protect the creatures from the Twilight's hammer. We save the little ones and murder the filthy Twilight trappers. The alpha male heart raiser is cut free and even kind enough to give us a ride to the man in charge, the one that needs to be removed to stop the trapping operations. While we were busy saving the local wildlife, Lakota actually came by. She told Paco to tell us to meet her east at the Twilight Bulwark. That must be where they're holding Magatha. Not just her either. More prisoners are held here for whatever dark purposes the cultists have in mind. We free them while gathering up a disguise, making our trip into the Twilight camp a whole lot safer and a lot easier to take care of their leaders. We can just distract them and murder them from behind. Now for Magatha's chains, we're going to need a special code. This code is taken from a device near the Codemaster. With it, we're finally able to set the Elderchrome free.
Be careful what you search for, stranger.
Now don't get it wrong, she's not exactly a good guy now. She's still very arrogant and rude, working on her own dark schemes. But at this very moment, the Twilight Hammer is a much larger threat. They've summoned a monstrosity known as Animus. At its core is an artifact called the Doomstone. One of its properties is an ability to absorb a great deal of energy, fed to it by two bound elementals, which we release. With the Doomstone, the cultists are trying to set off an explosion by overloading the stone and amplifying its power through the elemental. If they succeed, the rest of Thousand Needles and much of the surrounding land will be obliterated. This mustn't happen. It cannot happen. By breaking through its defensive shield and fighting through the gathered elemental powers, we stop Animus before the catastrophic plans can succeed. For rendering her faithful service, Magatha grants us our life and holds on to the Doomstone. Just for safekeeping, of course. At the time, we had no idea what this meant. Was Magatha going to come back and destroy us? Is she in charge of the Twilight's Hammer now? Nobody knew for certain, not until the expansion known as Legion. Here we saw heroes rise up to form order halls and defend the world of Azeroth against another invasion from the Legion. Shamans gathered at the Maelstrom, where surprisingly, Magatha eventually dared to show up to ask for their aid.
I am Magatha of the Grimtotem tribe, and I will be heard!
Her people, the Grimtotem, they've come under attack by the demons. She's lost a few possessions that are dear to her, and she wants our help. If we grant it, she will offer her services against the Legion. So despite our history, together we travel back to the Dark Cloud Pinnacle, where we find the Grimtotem Tauren fighting for their lives. While we go about freeing our people from the cages and killing a whole bunch of demons along the way, we also focus on getting back the Doomstone, which was taken from Magatha. This artifact of power clearly belongs in her hands, not theirs, so we take on Doomsayer Belresh and reclaim it.
You want the Doomstone, Shaman? Come, take it.
While we work on this, Magatha makes sure to get a Wind Serpent Arikara back. Now we're not just handing over this powerful artifact so easily. It's going to be much safer in Nobundo's hands at the Order Hall. And since the crone refuses to leave its side, she's more than welcome to make us a portal back to the Maelstrom. Or else, we'll simply leave alone with it. Our adventure with Magatha would continue on during Legion, with us actually using the Doomstone and her becoming a follower for the Order Hall. But for now, this is the major story of Thousand Needles. A very dry land that was flooded by water, engulfed in conflict, a beautiful location for Goblin and gnomes to figure out whose engineering is the best as they race on both land and on water. Hopefully the cold echo going on hasn't shut up my voice too much. Now by all means, let me know where you'd like to take this adventure next. Let me know in the comments down below which zone you'd like to see covered next. For now though, thank you very much for watching everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one. And until next time guys, see ya!